a phoneme and a morpheme?
I think that morpheme has its own meaning.
Yes, this is the most important difference. Yes, morpheme has its own meaning, or you remember a function, a grammatical function in a language. Okay, let me go back to this. Okay, yes, morphemes have their own meaning. Phonemes do not have their meaning. Morphemes consist of what? Morphemes actually consist of phonemes. Okay, so you can, if you have a morpheme, it should have its own meaning or grammatical function. Don't forget that they can have a grammatical function. Okay, you remember the morphemes? Maybe I can open this one. You remember probably this one, like re or ship. Okay, they have a function to form a noun or to form a verb from this one. Okay, so yes, and finally, so that's how you know that something is a morpheme. It should have its own meaning. Phonemes do not have the meaning. What did they say about the phonemes? What is the function of phonemes?
To show differences between sounds.
Yes, exactly. To show the differences between words and sounds, and remember minimal pairs. Yes, okay, so they show differences between words, but they themselves do not have any meaning. They are simply sounds. Yes, okay. So this is important to bear in mind. Okay, so maybe you will get the question to explain why something is a morpheme, not a phoneme, and so on. Okay, all right. Okay, let's continue now. Okay, this is where we stopped. We divided morphology into inflectional and word formation. And now we have to start with inflectional morphology in English. Okay, I think I believe everybody's here now. Okay, so inflectional morphology, as we said last time, does not create new words. They simply, this part of morphology simply creates different forms of one and the same word. This is very important, okay? So you should know that in inflectional morphology, we do not create new words. In word formation, we create new words, okay? So we have inflectional affixes within this inflectional morphology. In English, we have inflectional suffixes only. We do not have inflectional prefixes, okay? Because you do not have prefixes in English which do not create a new word. What happens with this one? Let me go back to the example we had. What happens with this one? Rewrite. Re is a prefix, but it's not inflectional because it creates a new word. This should be clear. I think if it is not, you can ask a question. Okay. So re is a prefix, but it's not inflectional because it creates a new word. Okay. So in English, we have inflectional suffixes only, not prefixes. And there is a very small number of them. Okay, so we can list them all. S, apostrophe S, S apostrophe, which is genitive plural. ER, EST, S again, ED, FEN, VING. Let's see what is the meaning of these morphemes. What is the grammatical meaning of S? Well, S can denote plural. If we're talking about nouns, then it denotes plural. S, like in books. Apostrophe S is genitive, like in books title. S apostrophe is genitive plural. ER is related to adjectives like nice, nicer, comparative degree, okay? EST, adjectives, superlative degree, nicest, okay? And now we have again S. So this is a different morpheme. What is the meaning of this second S? I'm sure you already know, but let me ask you anyway. What is the meaning of this second S?
It's for verbs, the third person singular.
Exactly, for verbs like in sings or writes, for verbs. So the first one for now, the second one for words, S, okay? ED for simple past. EN, this is going to be a mark for past participle. If you think about participles like broken or taken, they have EN. So ED, simple past, EN, past participle. ING is for present participle, like writing, okay? And they are all inflectional morphemes, all inflectional suffixes in English. We have just a few of them, okay? So they denote, as you already know, we already mentioned it, they denote cases like plural or genitive, number like plural, person, third person singular with S, tenses, ed, and so on. Okay, so we have quite a small number of inflectional suffixes. Okay, this is important. Inflectional suffixes, they do not change the part of speech to which you add them. If you start from a noun, you add an inflectional suffix, it is still a noun. Book, books. If you start from a verb, it is still a verb if you add an inflectional suffix. The second feature of inflectional suffixes or affixes is that always last in a word. After derivational affixes, you'll see derivational affixes are those which create new words, okay? So they really come at the end, like S for plural comes at the very end of a word, okay? You'll see examples a bit later. Inflectional emphasis in English with a question mark, not really, okay? Some older grammars, examples like sing, sang, you know, like irregular plural, treated as inflectional infixes, like sang, sing, sang, in sang like an infix, but we do not do this in modern grammar. That's why I have here a question mark. So yes, we can say we do not have inflectional emphasis in English, only inflectional suffixes. Then different grammatical forms of one word make an inflectional paradigm. You remember, paradigm is a set of related forms. So inflectional paradigm means different grammatical forms of one word, like adjectival paradigm, nice, nicer, nicest. Okay, so this would be positive, comparative, superlative degree. This is an adjectival paradigm. What would be a noun, nominal paradigm in English? Well, it's also very simple. Book, books plural, books genitive, books genitive plural, and that's all. Okay, so this is an inflectional paradigm. We have a couple of specific cases when it comes to inflectional paradigms and inflection. We have something which we call suppletive forms or suppletion. Simply, grammatical forms of one word. They are formed from a different base or root. You do not simply add suffixes to the base, but you have a different root. The verb be is a good example of this. So the paradigm for be is am, is, are. Not what, not I be, you be, he bees. It does not, we do not use the same root, be. These forms, am, is, are called suppletive forms because they are formed from a different base or root. We have a similar example in Serbian. Čovek, you know that the plural is ljudi. You can have, perhaps in some ironic comments, or čoveci or so on, which is ungrammatical or substandard, but this is a suppletive form ljudi for plural. Okay, so this is suppletion. The second thing we have to explain is periphrasis. Periphrastic constructions. So we have a grammatical meaning, but we did not express it by using affixes, but we use specific separate words. Okay, this is periphrastic, for example, comparison of adjectives. Like, you know, in English, instead of having nice, nicer, nicest, you have more and the most. Okay, so this is periphrastic comparison, like difficult, more difficult, the most difficult. So we have inflectional comparison like nicer, nicer, nicest, and periphrastic comparison because we have words like more, the most for grammatical meanings, not just affixes. This is periphrasis. Okay, a couple of more examples. So we have non-periphrastic of adjectives, nice, nicer, nicest. I already mentioned it. We can also have periphrastic genitive, title of the book. This is periphrastic because we use the preposition of to show genitive. We did not use the suffix s like in the second case. This is non-periphrastic, book's title. So simply periphrastic, you use different words to express grammatical relation. Non-periphrastic, you use a suffix. So and that's basically all about inflectional morphology. We don't have to say much about it in English. Why? Because we do not have too many inflectional suffixes. In Serbian, we have quite a lot of cases, tenses, and so on, but not in English. Okay? If you have any questions about this segment, or we can go to word formation. Okay, so let me go back again. So we have, you remember, we have the division of morphology into inflectional morphology and word formation, tvorba in Serbian. So now this second part, word formation. Okay, so word formation means creating new words, not just different forms of one word. So morphological process is to create new words. This is a segment of morphology which we call word formation. Okay, so the first one we are going to mention is derivation. The same in Serbian, like derivacija. Okay, we use derivational affixes to create new words. Affixes in this case mean prefixes and suffixes. Again, we do not have infixes. Okay, so we have prefixes and suffixes to create new words. Okay, so I'm going to mention some of these. Perhaps you can provide examples, but let's see first see some of them. The most productive prefixes in English, in, this, on, un, miss, out, over, and so on. Let me explain this one first. Okay. So perhaps you already remember when we discussed phonology and some sound changes and morphophonology. Perhaps you remember, what did we say about this in, ill, ir, im? In, like in an example, let me give you the first examples with ill. Illegal. How did we get illegal?
In legal, and we get illegal because it is easier to pronounce it.
Yes, exactly. You remember morphophonology. So you remember assimilation. You remember this term assimilation. Exactly. Okay. So in is a prefix. It's a morpheme. This is an example. Il, ir, im are allomorphs. This is another example of allomorphs in English. So il, ir, im are allomorphs because they are conditioned by a context, depending on the sound which follows. Okay. So illegal, regular. We start with irregular, then we get irregular. Polite, impolite, we end up with impolite. Okay, so in morpheme with 3 allomorphs. Okay, I think this should be clear. Okay, and now we have quite a large list of these prefixes. Perhaps we don't need examples for them all, but let me hear at least some examples from you. You'll need examples for the exam, okay? You need examples for the test. Perhaps you would get, for example, a question or a task, provide 3 examples, 3 different examples with the prefix this in English, and then you need 3 words. So could you provide a couple of examples with, for example, this, and miss, out, and so on? It's not too difficult. Perhaps, yes, let's hear it. Yes. Do you have an example? Let me just check. Somebody wanted to, perhaps. No. Okay, it's okay. Okay. So what about this? Dislike, for example. What is the meaning of this? What is the grammatical meaning of this prefix? It has the meaning of a negative, okay, like, dislike, okay? The same goes with un, like, unlike, okay? What happens with miss? Do you have an example with miss, for example? And what does it mean?
Misunderstood.
Misunderstood, misunderstand, yes. So what is the meaning of miss?
It means to not understand. It's also a negative.
Yes, negative. It is also negative, okay. Out, like, for example, what? Outlive, outdo, and so on. Meaning usually what? Doing more than somebody else, okay? Overcook, for example. Under, over meaning, again, more than necessary. Under meaning perhaps less than necessary. So undercook also. Pre, okay, let me go back a bit, okay? Pre, like which example, for example? Pre what?
Rewrite.
Okay, pre-write. Yes, rewrite is a good example. Okay, how about this one?
Predate. Predate.
Yes, okay, yes, all right. Or preschool education and so on. Yes, pre meaning before. Post obviously means after. This is from Latin. Postgraduate studies, for example. Okay. So these are the most frequent prefixes. Okay. Let me show them all. Okay. You need examples. Don't just rely on one example. You need examples for these. Okay. So memorize just a couple of them. You don't have to memorize them all. Okay. So the most productive suffixes, which means added at the end of the word, are these. Again, quite a long list. Okay. Well, let's go quickly through these. ER. Now, perhaps we need a comment for ER. You remember we had a suffix nice, nicer. This is not the same ER. With nicer, it's inflectional. Where do we get this ER? Derivational. In which word, for example? This ER usually means the doer, the agent, like write, writer. Okay? Act, actor. Okay? So ER, just be careful. We have the same one, ER, inflectional, in a nicer. This is derivational because it creates a new word. Nicer is not a new word. It's just a comparative degree. Okay? Let, usually for something smaller. Okay? Do you have an example with let? Okay, how about piglet? Piglet, for example, okay? And this let is obviously not the same as the verb let. It is just a suffix, okay? Hood. I think it's very easy to find examples like what? Like brotherhood, for example. And again, this is not the same as the word hood. There is a word hood in English. There is a word ship in English, but these are suffixes, okay? Brotherhood, friendship, kingdom, full, like in what? Like in colorful, for example. Meaningful, exactly, meaningful, yes. IST, again, for the doer of the action. Do you have an example with IST?
Feminist.
Therapist.
Yes, therapist.
Optimist.
Yes, violinist and so on. Yes, okay. ISM, for usually for abstract nouns. Do you have an example with ISM? Well, somebody, you mentioned feminist, for example, feminism, rationalism,
Realism.
realism, yes, okay. Asian, again, with usually abstract nouns, like which, for example.
Nation.
Okay, do we have a suffix in nation? I wasn't really sure. Nation is a word. Do we have a suffix nation? We would get only n. So this is. Do you have perhaps another example?
Discrimination.
Yes, exactly. Discrimination. Or, for example, you remember our term suffixation, suffixation, okay? Prefixation, yes. Ment, also abstract nouns like development, okay?
Improvement.
Yes, okay.
Functional.
Part, partial, I believe that is what you said, yes, okay. Right, ness, happy, happiness, this is easy. ITY, real, reality, yes, okay. IFY goes with verbs. Do you have an example with IFY, with verbs?
Qualify.
Qualify, testify, and so on. Yes, okay. IZE, ISE with verbs like organ, organize, and many others. EN, also with verbs. If you have widen, broaden, adjective plus EN, broad, broaden, okay? And let me just mention some of the adjectives able, like what? Like
Lovable.
yes, for example, okay, spendable, many, quite a lot of these. ISH, ish, This is usually for colors, okay? Like what? If you say reddish or yellowish, it means partially yellow or red. Yes, okay? Partly yellow or red, okay? ly, if you want to form an, for example, an adverb, you remember we have quickly, we create a new word with ly, okay? Quickly, for adverbs, yes, okay, all right? So again, these are the most frequent suffixes. Memorize some of these. You don't have to memorize them all, but you should need at least 2 or 3 examples, okay? So when we have derivation, we have the so-called derivational paradigm. You remember we also had inflectional paradigm. So derivational paradigm is a set of new words created from one root. For example, this is an example we heard. Nation, which is a root basically, it consists only of phonemes, okay? If you add al, you get national. If you get al plus ist, you get nationalist. If you get al plus ity, nationality. And if you get hood, you get nationhood, okay? So this is a derivational paradigm, new words from the same base or root. This is not too difficult, okay? All right, so this is derivation. You remember, this is our first process. This is derivation. Now we can proceed with compounding. You can see brackets, it means složenica, izgradnja složenica, okay? And I'm sure you know quite a lot about compounds already in Serbian and in English, but let's hear some of the characteristics, okay? So the very simple definition, we combine 2 or more roots or bases to create a new word, which means we do not add affixes, we do not add prefixes or suffixes, we combine roots or bases to create a new word. That's why they are called compounding, okay? And we have some characteristics of these compounds, okay? So the first characteristic is related to orthography, which means writing. How do you write compounds in English? As you can read it, we can write them as one word, like in bedroom. Why this would be a compound? Because you have bed and room combined into one word. We can use sometimes a hyphen, like in tax-free. And we can, in English, we can even write them as separate words, like swimming pool. This is a pool. This is a compound in English, swimming pool. Okay, so you have 3 ways of writing. Okay, phonological characteristic is related to stress. Remember when we talked about phonetics phonology, we discussed primary, secondary, even tertiary stress. Okay, now the rule is with compounds that primary stress is on the first element, secondary stress on the second element. So if you compare 2 words in brackets, blackbird is a compound. What kind, how would you translate this one? It is a specific kind of bird. What kind of a bird is that? What is the Serbian word for this? Blackbird.
Course.
Course, exactly. So we have a specific word, blackbird, but if you stress it like this, blackbird, primary stress is on bird. So this is simply crna ptica, okay? So this is any bird which is black. So think about it. Compounds have primary stress on the first element. Usual combinations, adjective plus noun, have it on the noun, okay? And finally, semantic characteristics. Compounds have a specific meaning. They are new words, but this meaning could be related or even not related to the meaning of elements in the compound, okay? So let's check these examples in brackets, okay? Sunrise. It is obviously related to sun and rise. So this is related to the elements, okay? Daydream is related to dreaming, okay? Handmade, it is, okay? Homesick, it's also related to home and sick, okay? But you'll see we have examples when it is not related. We have examples just a couple of lines below, okay? So specific meaning, sometimes related, sometimes not, okay? Then, these are the characteristics. You remember we were discussing characteristics of compounds. Now we can explain a specific way to form compounds called back formation. Okay, back formation, a specific way to create compounds. we call it back formation because it has the opposite direction of what we usually do, okay? We usually add suffixes or affixes, addition. This is the usual way. So for example, you have write, writer. This is not a compound, this is just an example of a formation, okay? So this is usual direction, but sometimes we have shortening, which is the opposite direction. That's back formation. So it means shortening. Instead of adding, you omit something, okay? So this is back formation, like in to babysit. Linguists say that first the noun babysitter was created. This is a compound, babysitter. And then you omitted ER to create a verb, to babysit. That's why this is back formation, opposite, which means you did not add, but omit something. So you omitted ER, okay? To lip read. The first you created lip reading, the compound noun, lip reading. And then you omit ing, and then get the verb to lip read. Okay, again, back formation. And the third example is to house hunt. First created house hunting noun, you omitted ing to form a verb to house hunt. Okay, so this is what it means, back formation, opposite direction, not addition of suffixes or affixes, but omission of something, shortening. Okay, yes, okay. This is a specific kind of compounds. The next specific kind of compounds is reduplication. You simply omit the same or similar element twice, like goody goody, hocus pocus. This is not, I mean, this is repetition with some changes, dilly dally or mambo jumbo, okay? So what is the meaning of goody goody? If a child, a very small child, says goody goody, it means what? It's usually related to food, okay? So it means it's very tasty, very nice, something, but babies usually, small children say this, goody goody, okay? Hocus pocus, you know what it means. What is the meaning of dilly dally? It usually means spending time not doing anything in particular. Nešto kao lenčariti, dan gubiti, okay? Mambo jumbo, if something happened, mambo jumbo, then it means actually what? It happened in which way? Well, yes, yes, sorry.
Maybe it happened. Do you want the translation?
Yes, in a kind of a chaotic way, okay? Not in Zbrda-zdola, yes, exactly, yes. This Serbian translation shows you, yes, okay? So this reduplication, okay, simply repetition, you'll see that it is not too difficult, but when you come, not you, but some students when come to the exams, they do not know how to answer these questions if they get this. But you'll see that it's very simple, so it's not a piece of advice, it's not to learn it by heart, so somehow try to find some logic in it, okay? Reduplication simply means repeating something, okay? Neoclassical compounds, another specific type of compounds. Obviously, neoclassical, your association should be Old Greek and Latin, okay? So compounds created from Old Greek and Latin words, but probably created later, not in this ancient Greek or Latin period, okay? So geography, biology, usually names of sciences, okay? So why is geography a compound? Graphy actually means what? Geo means, or gea means what?
Gea means the earth, and graphene is right to write.
You know that sometimes, how do we use the term geographia, but sometimes you can also translate it into
Zemljopis.
Zemljopis. This is literally, okay, Zemljopis, yes, okay. Biology is also a compound, logia, which means science, okay. Bios means life, science about life, okay. So neoclassical compounds, quite a lot, especially with the names of sciences, okay, and created in words, terms created in science, okay? Now we have a division of compounds into endo and exocentric. Let me emphasize, this is a typical question for your written exam, not for this test on Monday, but for written exam. Okay, so you have to decide. You get a couple of compounds, and you have to write if they are endo or exocentric. Okay, let's try to find some logic in it. If you what if something is endo and something is exo? Exo actually means what? Endo means, yes, exactly. Endo means inside. Exo means outside. Yes. So you should try to find some logic in it. Okay. So simply endocentric meanings could be reduced to something, to the meaning of one component, which means inside. Okay. So armchair, it is still a chair. Even if you omit arm, it is still a chair. If you, in bedroom, if you omit bed, it is still a room. Okay, so this is endocentric, meaning inside. Okay, exo, meaning outside. Okay, so meaning cannot be reduced to the meaning of one of the components. So red neck, turncoat, red skin. Now remember, I told you that sometimes the compounds do not have the meaning directly related to the meaning of compound. This is the example. Okay. So what redneck, it actually means what? It's not really a neck, not literally a neck. It actually denotes what?
Worker, maybe.
Exactly. So it's a usually physical worker. It does have some, what is the relation between redneck and physical worker? Well, if you work outside, you get what? You get a specific kind of, your skin gets a specific color, especially your neck. Okay, so it is related, but redneck is a person. It's not related to neck. That's why this is exo. It's not a neck, but it is related to a person. Turncoat is also a person. How do we translate this one? Or what kind of a person is a turncoat?
Maybe volition.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so if you turn coats, which means you change clothes, change coat frequently, which means you do not stick to your principles. Neka prevratljiva osoba, recimo, yes, licemeran, dvoličan, yes. Okay, red skin, you know that it is sometimes even not really advisable to use, but red skin, you know that this is related to the American Indian population. Okay, right. So to sum up, endo-exocentric, think about it, you'll get the compounds for the written exam, a question, a task, to determine if they are endo or exocentric. Okay, and that's all about compounds. Okay, any questions about compounds or any question about the specific types of compounds? Okay, if not, then we can proceed with the next process. You remember we are discussing word formation, derivation, compounding, now clipping. Clipping, you should also try to find some association with skraćivanje. If you clip something, you make it shorter, okay? And it is very simple again. You omit parts of words which are longer words to create new shorter words, okay? They are usually informal or colloquial speech. Perhaps some of those do not belong to formal language, but to conversation, to dialogues, and so on. You know that phone comes from telephone. You omitted the first part, telephone. Okay, bus. Students usually don't memorize this, but it comes from omnibus. First name was omnibus, and then shortened for bus, shortened to bus. Okay, you know that exam comes from examination, shortened. Ad comes from what? From
Advertisement.
yes, advertisement. Ad is advertisement. Okay. So, to sum up, you can omit the first, the last part, or both. Even both parts can be omitted. What about the omnibus? We omitted the first part, omni. With ad, or let's say with exam, we omitted the second part, okay? Sometimes even both parts can be omitted. You'll see some of the following examples, okay? Mike is, which part we omitted? The second part. But what is interesting with Mike, we spelled it differently, not with C. Microphone, you omitted the second part, but you spell it like with K, Mike, okay? Flu, This is an example where you omitted both the first and the last part. So flu is the middle of the word influenza, okay? And fridge also, refrigerator. You omitted the first and the last part. You kept the middle, okay? All right. So this is clipping. Quite simply, think about it logically. Clipping meaning omitting something, okay?
I have a question, just quickly,
Yes.
about the mic.
Okay.
I often see it as MIC.
Mic, yes, mic. You usually have it, especially in communication on the internet. This is also mic. Yes, perhaps this is a good question. Perhaps I should add it here. Okay. Yes, you can even use it MIC. Yes, this is direct abbreviation of microphone. Yes, you're right. Okay. Especially what if you're writing a message where SMS or on the internet, you can shorten it with mic, M-I-C, mic. Yes, you're right. Okay, perhaps I should add it here. Okay, mic or mic. Yes, this is a good question. Yes, this is all.
I
Yes.
know because of the exam.
Yes.
If it shows up. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So you can also use mic as an example, which is direct clipping of microphone. Yes. Yes. Okay. Right. Blending. The next one. We have different names for in Serbian, sometimes called slivanje, slivenice, slivanje, okay? Blend. You know the meaning of blend, it means to combine something, okay? So this is the process in which you link parts of different words, okay? But parts of different words, not the entire words. So typical examples, motel and smog. This is perhaps I'm sure you already know that motel comes from motor and hotel, but you omitted the second part of the first and the first part of the second word. Okay, you get motel, smog. You omitted the end of smog and the beginning of fog. Okay. Then you get telecast, which is television broadcast. This is also almost a typical example in the test, in your written exam. Okay, not this test on Monday, but for the written exam, you get some. For example, you get telecast, you have to explain how it was created, to say that it is a blending and to write two words which make this blend. The nouns created by blending are called blends, okay? We have quite a lot of interesting examples. It's not so present in Serbian, but we can find examples even in Serbian. Perhaps you remember in some poetry for children, Princesa, okay? You know, you must have heard it, that it is Klinka plus Princesa, okay? Quite a long time ago, there was a specific kind of žvazbuka. What do you think it was? It was a bubble gum, chewing gum, in the shape of letters, okay? So it was žvaka plus azbuka. It does not really exist anymore, but it is a blend, okay? Now something more modern, more contemporary, perhaps more familiar to you, okay? Cyborg comes, I'm sure you know that it is a cybernetic organism, org, okay? What would be a cybrary? How did we get cybrary? Cybernetic, obviously, but what is the second word?
Library, maybe.
Library, exactly. Cybernetic library, yes, okay? So cybrarian is the same. Cybernetic librarian, yes, this is related, okay? Webzine, web magazine, okay, this is clear. Webinar, you know that now we have webinars, okay? Modem is also modulator, demodulator. This is also a blend. Now, how about, I don't have a solution here. What about screenagers? Meaning what? Coming from obviously screen and teenagers, but actually means what? Who are screenagers? Well, they are teenagers who spend what? Quite a lot of time in front of a screen. It could be a computer or your cell phone, or screenagers, okay? Okay, how about Wiktionary? Wiktionary, perhaps you have some ideas about how it was created.
Wikipedia plus dictionary.
Exactly. Wikipedia plus dictionary. Wiktionary, yes. You know that you can check words, okay? Rurban, okay? Rural plus urban. This is related to people who live outside a large town and come to work they commute, okay? Rurban. They do not live in the town, but they work in the town, okay? Welderly, well and elderly, well in the sense of rich, okay? Well in the sense of having enough money, having a lot of money, welderly. Elderly and well off, okay? Himbo is an interesting example. Perhaps it's even a substandard. Perhaps maybe we can start from bimbo. You know, a bimbo. This is related to bimbo. Okay, bimbo is usually you probably know in films about teenagers. This is what? This is a slang for a person, usually female person who is perhaps not very clever. Bimbo. Okay, but who would be a himbo, for example? Perhaps you can solve this one.
Male version of the same thing, maybe.
Yes. So you have he and bimbo, okay? Yes, male version of the same, with the same meaning, okay? So bimbo has the meaning of a person, female, not particularly clever. Himbo, the same with male, okay? Male version of this, okay? And then you have some political examples like Brexit, very similar. First, sometimes in Serbian, they try to translate it literally like Brislas, because we have Britannia Islas, okay? But now we use what? Now we use Brexit. We use the same one, Brexit, okay? You do not use this one. At the beginning, they tried to make a blend, but we did not keep it, okay? We use Brexit, okay? And just a couple of those more, okay? What about, what about acronyms? Okay, let me find it. Okay, how about airport? It actually means what? You can find it at airports. It's obviously hair and airport, which means barber's shop at the airport where you can trim your hair, for example. Okay, how about Italy? But written like AEA. This is a kind of a shop, kind of a restaurant, okay, which means eat Italy. This is Italian restaurant or Italian food, okay? This is a chain of shops or restaurants, okay? And finally, the last one I have here is Pepsi. This is what I heard a couple of years ago from the students, okay? This is in Serbian. This is not a word used in English, okay? But in Serbian, from some secondary school students told me that sometimes they use the term Pepsi while they attended secondary schools, for whom actually this is a person for whom in the secondary school. But think about
Pedagog and psycholog.
Pedagog and psycholog, exactly. Pepsi, pedagog, psycholog, yes. Okay, perhaps you don't use it anymore, but I heard it a couple of years ago. Pepsi, pedagog, psycholog, yes, exactly, okay? So this is blending, quite a lot of examples, and this is usually interesting to think about, okay? Blending, okay? Then we have acronyms. This is also interesting, in my opinion, okay? You already know what an acronym is. So we have the first letters of several words used to create new words, okay? So we have three types of acronyms. The first one is UN, FBI, BBC, VIP, MIT, and so on. Okay, let me say it anyway. I'm not going to ask you. This is the first type because of their pronunciation. We spell it letter by letter, UN, FBI, BBC, okay? MIT, you can see in brackets, it is Massachusetts Institute of Technology. It's an American university, okay? CIA stands for what?
Central Intelligence Agency.
Agency, exactly, CIA. još jedan, znači savjet, ovo definitivno bude na testu. Imate akronime koje treba da rešite, ok? Na onoj vežbanci workbook imate pri kraju spisak akronima, list of acronyms, to je nekakav spisak sa kojih se uzimaju ti akronimi, pa pogledajte. Znači, sve treba da rešite koje dobijete na testu, ok? So, PTO, it means please turn over, perhaps at the end of the page. You write this, it means there is more on the next page, please turn over, okay? And finally, French, RSVP, répondez s'il vous plaît, okay? It means what? It means, where do you have this acronym? And it actually means what? Yes?
Response or something.
Yes, okay, let me put it this way. In the official invitation, usually to go to an official party, okay, for example, to the embassy or to, I don't know, to a ministry, okay, it means please answer, okay, this is literally in French, answer please, okay, which means confirm that you would come, okay, so it means if you have this at the end of the invitation, it means you should answer if you're going to come or not, okay. So this is the first type, which means you spell it letter by letter, okay. So the second type is pronounced as words, like NATO, BASIC, WASP, okay? You have the solutions in brackets, NATO, you know, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. BASIC is Beginner's All-Purpose Symbolic Instruction Code. It is one of the first oldest computer languages. We don't use it anymore. It is BASIC, okay? But it is an acronym. WASP, White Anglo-Saxon Protestant. You know, it refers to a specific group of people, okay? So pronounced as words. And the third type is you even use small letters, okay? And pronounced like words, like radar. Probably not even aware that it's created from radio detecting and ranging. It's actually taken, you even omit it, and you have actually radar, you have actually specific kind of acronym. It's not just the first word, okay? You have a combination of different words, and you did not use just the first letter in a word, but it is still treated as an acronym, okay? If you try to find it, it's not really at the first letter of each of these, okay? And laser, this is a bit complicated. You don't have to learn it by heart, but it means light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation, okay? So the third type, small letters, they're acronyms, pronounced like words. But just think about it, not just the first letters, okay? Radar, okay? The next process we are going to mention, okay, do you have any questions before we go to conversion? This is the last one in this file, okay?
Profesore, izvinite, ja imam jedno pitanje. Da li nam je onda vežbanka koju smo kupili na fakultetu, da li nam je onda to dovoljan izvor informacija vezan sa akronima ili treba da konsultujemo još neke izvore? Spomenuli ste se na kraju nalaze akronimi pa...
Ja sad nemam kod sebe, mogu da proverim, naći ćete sami na kojim je to stranama. Znači, to vam je dovoljan izvor. Još eventualno, Nataša vam šalje, Milivojević Nataša vam šalje materijale, je li tako? Tu pogledajte da će biti neki akronimi, znači možda tu bude nešto još dodatno. Znači, ovo što smo pomenuli na času, ono što ćete dobiti od Nataše Milivojević i ono što stoji u vežbanci, u onom što smo nazvali workbook, to je to što ćete imati. Znači, nećemo tražiti nešto što jednostavno niste nikad čuli. Recimo, zanimljivo, evo da se vratim samo na ispitu, ja ponekad pitam, what is REM, you know, like a group, what is REM, stands for what? I studenti obično ne znaju, what is REM, nemam ga na spisku ovde.
Rapid eye movement. Maybe.
Yes, exactly, yes. Anything else you wanted to say? Rapid eye movement, yes, okay. So think about it, REM, rapid eye movement. It's a group, but students usually don't know where it comes from, okay?
Also a phase of a dream.
Yes, in a dream, yes. In psychology, yes. It's a phase in a dream, yes. When you move your eyes, yes, but you are dreaming, you are sleeping, yes. Okay, yes, okay. Any other questions, or we can go to conversion? Okay. Okay, conversion is a very simple process. You change the part of speech, but you do not add anything. You do not change the form of a word. You do not have any morphological changes. Let me add a comment. You can do this in English, but not in Serbian, because you have, in English, you can have write, which is a verb, or you can have, in Serbian, you have čitati, čitanje, okay? You can have different suffixes for čitati, čitanje, okay? But in English, you have words, you remember, like walk, perhaps not right, but walk. Walk is a verb and a noun at the same time. This is what we call conversion, okay? Changing part of speech without any morphological changes, okay? So, for example, you have a lot of examples, but I have a couple of them. Bottle, noun to bottle, verb actually meaning what? To put in a bottle, okay? Catalog to catalog, desire to desire, doubt to doubt. These are nouns, bottle, catalog, desire, and verbs. Dry to dry, dry is an adjective, to dry is a verb, okay? So you can use one part of speech to create another part of speech, but without the morphological change, you don't add anything, okay? This is called conversion, okay? And this is the end of this file, which I'm going to close now, and we can go to the second. Do you have other questions? Okay, we're going to start with some other processes. Do you have questions about this first part of word formation?
I have two questions, but it's not about this topic. So I
Okay.
can do it at the end of the lecture.
No, it's okay. You can ask it now because we can proceed with words.
Okay. When we were about allophones,
Okay.
the L example with bottle,
Yes.
in brackets, it says valorized and dark with.
Polarized, yes, and dark, yes. Yes, that's what
I didn't get dark. I don't know what it means.
okay, dark means, okay, if you pronounce L, okay, dealer, and dark L, what is the position of a language if you pronounce light, L in light? You see that the first part of the language is somewhere in the front part of the mouth. But if you pronounce bottle, where is the language? The tongue. The tongue is at the end of the mouth. So this is what we call dark L because it sounds like a dark L, okay? So it has to do with the position of the tongue. If you pronounce light, you see that the first part of the tongue is included. But if you pronounce bottle, you see that the last part of the mouth and the tongue is included. That's why it is called black. Is it clearer now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. This is simply the position of the tongue, okay? And the second question, I think you have to...
I think, wait, I can see where I've written it. If I find it, I will ask it later.
At the end, okay? We are going to stop about 10 minutes before the end of the class.
Okay, thank you.
Right? So we have word formation. This is the new file, but we have word formation continued, okay? So it's a usually interesting one. G, words from personal names. You know that family names of a specific person can sometimes become a noun, a common noun, okay? Let's check the last line first. Units in physics and chemistry. Quite a lot of these in physics and chemistry. Do you know a unit in physics or chemistry which is actually originally a family name of somebody, or a scientist? I'm sure you know a couple of them.
Newton,
Newton, Tesla, yes, this is what I had in mind, okay? So think about it. Quite a lot of different names, scientists, okay? But let's check the examples I have. They're not scientists, but something else, okay? Charles Boycott. Boycott as a family name was a specific person. You can read it, 19th century. He was a land agent in Ireland. He reduced rents, okay? And he was boycotted, okay? So we have the noun boycott, to boycott, the verb to boycott from his family name, okay? And there is a short story about why this family name was created into a common noun. William Lynch, 18th, 19th century, US, organized extra legal tribunals, you know, probably from different movies about the American West, okay, what it looked like. So we have to lynch and lynch law. We have the same word, lynchology, okay? But let me just remind you, this is not related to David Lynch. There is a film director, David Lynch. This is William Lynch, okay? John McAdam, 18th, 19th century. He was a Scottish engineer. He constructed Macadam Road. What kind of a road is that? Macadam Road. It is obviously not concrete, but it is.
Macadam,
Yes.
Can I say? Macadam Road is a road not made out of concrete, but it's covered with little stones
Yeah.
in the bay.
Yes, exactly, okay. Mi to nekad zovemo kaldrma, to je slično ono što mi zovemo kaldrma. Znači ne ove kocke, kocke su novije, nego baš ono što su...
Tucanik, rekao bih.
Tucanik jeste tako, yes, exactly, yes, okay. So, specific kind of road, Macadam Road. And the last one I'm going to mention is Jean Nicot. Just pay attention, this is a French name when you come to the exam, French pronunciation, Jean Nicot, okay. 16th century French diplomat. It seems that he introduced tobacco into France, okay. He brought tobacco as a plant. So nicotine is formed from his family name, Nicot, nicotine, okay. So he brought the plant, it seems, to France, okay. And we already mentioned units in physics and chemistry, okay? So boycott, this is also a possible question for your exam. Get a, for example, boycott, and you should explain how it was created, okay? Okay, then we have the last one. The last process in word formation is invention of completely new words. We do not have an explanation, actually, like Kodak or Google, okay? You remember what Kodak actually is related to what? Kodak as the noun. Kodak as films, not so much as a film industry, but film which you put in a camera, okay? Možda se sećate Kodak kao filmovi, postojali su i Kodak aparati. Jednostavno, this is simply invented. The authors of this believe that it would attract customers, okay? And for example, Google, okay? We do not have this is not a derivation, this is not a compound or whatever, okay? So we have a completely new word, okay? And that's the processes about word formation, okay? Do you have any questions now, or we can go to borrowings and translation loans? Okay? So instead of creating new words, we can actually borrow words, okay? If words are borrowed, they go through the process of adaptation. This adaptation is phonological, graphological, and morphological. Phonological means pronunciation, graphological means writing, and morphological, it means you may add morphological elements like suffixes of the domestic language, not of the language from which the word was borrowed, okay? So for example, computer into Serbian from English. Phonological is this, for example, the end. You have a r, clearly r in Serbian, which is not so clear in English. Graphological, it is obvious you use y, which does not exist in English. You use k, which does not exist in English, okay? Bestseller without the double L, bilderka. This is an example, for example, morphological adaptation. You added ka, which is the Serbian suffix for females, okay? Bilderka does not really, it's not added in English, but it is in Serbian, okay? So phonological, graphological, and morphological adaptation, okay? And in that case, we talk about the receiving language and the source language. Receiving language is the one which borrows, and the source language is from which it is borrows, okay? Meaning sometimes it's not the same, okay? It also happens that you borrow something, but it gets a different meaning, okay? How about the speaker? Speaker in Serbian, Danas moram priznati, više se koristi termin prezenter, znači radi se o vestima. Na radiju, na televiziji, nekad su se oni koji čitaju vesti na radiju, televiziji zvali speakeri, okay? It is obviously from English, speaker, okay? But in English it does not mean this. The English word in this meaning is the announcer, okay? So speaker, in the sense we have in Serbian, is English announcer, okay? So obviously comes from the English speaker, but who is the speaker with the capital S in English political life? Who is the speaker? Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, who is the speaker?
The speaker is, if I'm not mistaken, a member of parliament.
Yes, I didn't quite hear you clearly, but I think
Member of parliament.
actually, yes, related to parliament, but it's actually the president of the parliament. This is the speaker. Okay? This is the president of the English parliament. Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. Related to parliament. Okay. Then drugstore, obviously from drugstore. Okay. But what is the difference when you use the term drugstore in Serbian? You actually refer to what kind of shop?
24/7.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Okay. For 24/7, which means open all the time. But in English, drugstore is actually a shop which sells what? In addition to medicines, perhaps cosmetics and something else. Okay, so it's not exactly the same. We have this meaning for 24/7. Yes, exactly. Okay, so borrowing in addition to creation new words, and another process not to, if you do not want to borrow word or to create a new word, you can use the so-called translation loans or calcs. We call them kalkovi or prevedenice, okay? You see that it is also not anything especially difficult, but it means that you have foreign words or even phrases, but we translate them into the local language, but this is important, keeping the grammatical pattern of the foreign language, okay? Literally translating them, okay? And then we call them translation loans or calcs, okay? So like in the following examples, neboder, it literally skyscraper, okay? Noćni klub, nightclub, it seems that it was literally actually translated from English, okay? Ispiranje mozga, brainwashing. And now we have two words, rukopis, pravopis, which are not borrowed, not translated from English, but you can actually see this. Rukopis, manuscriptum from Latin, literally hand writing, okay, pisanje. Pravopis, Greek, ortho, prav, ispravan, grafia, pisanje, pis, okay? So these are called translation laws or calcs. This is important, keeping the grammatical pattern of the English, of the foreign language, of the original language, okay? I don't have anything else about translation loans. If you have any questions, you can ask it now, okay? We can go to false pairs related to words in morphology. You already know this from secondary school, but let me add it. They are words in domestic and foreign language. They have the same or similar form, but a different meaning. Obviously, a foreign word, but different meaning in the local language, okay? Eventualno, eventually, what is the difference? Eventualno in Serbian actually means possibly. Eventually, you know what it means. In English, it means finally, okay? Aktuelan, actual, what is the difference? Aktuelan and actual, Serbian and English.
Aktualan kao trenutno moderan ili popularan. Pogoda, actual kao stvaran.
Yes, stvaran i tako dalje. Yes, exactly. Concrete, yes, okay? Not exactly the same, okay? Simpatia, sympathy. You know what simpatia means, but what is sympathy in English? Jeste, to je neka vrsta, isto povezano sa osjećanjima, znači sympathy means what? You're sympathize with somebody, which means you have feelings for somebody in the sense of appreciating somebody's grief or something. Znači sympathy, znači saosjećati sa nekim. Mi imamo malo drugačije značenje simpatije, okay? Isto tako, the last example, ambulanta, ambulance. Okay, you know what ambulance is in English. Okay, kod nas ambulanta, ambulance is actually a car. Okay, but ambulanta, you know what it means. I don't have to explain it. Okay, so they don't mean exactly the same. So they are false pairs. Okay, right? If you do not have any other questions, that we can, this is word formations, borrowing, translation loans. And now we have to take a look at the process of analyzing words, dividing words into morphemes. Okay, this process is called immediate constituent analysis, abbreviated IC analysis. IC stands for immediate constituent, IC. Okay, this is related, use it in morphology. So immediate constituent analysis in morphology. In Serbian, we usually translate it as metoda neposrednih konstituenata. Okay, so this is simply a procedure how you divide words into morphemes. So you have immediate and ultimate constituents. Ultimate, you can probably guess, are those which cannot be further divided into morphemes. So ultimate, krajnji, okay, they cannot be further divided into morphemes. Immediate, they are somewhere in between the first word and the ultimate constituent. They still can be divided into morphemes, okay? And we have the following basic rules, okay? I ovo pitanje, samo da napravim malo digresiju, ponekad bude problem studentima na ispitu, ali u suštini ako razmislite, nije. Probajte da opet imate neku logiku u svemu ovome, vidjet ćete, okay? So, when we do this, we have to follow the following rules, okay? Morphological unit always divided into two constituents. In one step, two constituents, not 3 or 4, two constituents. Inflectional suffix is separated first. If possible, one of the two constituents should be a free form. Free meaning can stand alone. And this is very important. Meaning of constituents should be related to the meaning of the entire word. So this is important. The meaning should be related. Okay? I možda još samo da pomenem, ovo obično dobijete na pismenom ispitu. Dobijete reč koju treba da podelite na morfeme. Znači, to isto obično bude kao pitanje ili zadatak. Okay? So let's see some of the examples. I think I already gave you an example like ungentlemanly. Okay? So we do not, first of all, we do not have inflectional suffixes here. We do not have to think about inflectional suffixes. We have a prefix un and gentlemanly. I think we already explained last time. Why not ungentlemanly? Because the word ungentleman does not exist. This is the. Meaning should be related. Ungentleman does not exist, okay? So we have un and gentlemanly, and then you divide gentleman and ly, and then finally gentle and man. So gentle and man are ultimate constituents. This gentleman and ly, they are immediate constituents. Okay? The gentleman can still be subdivided, okay? So gentle and man are ultimate constituents. The same goes with enlargement. Okay, now we have an inflectional suffix s. You remember we have to separate it first. Enlargement and s, inflectional suffix first, and then we simply have enlargement. Okay, why not in enlargement? Simply because enlargement does not exist. Okay, so we have to say enlargement. And finally, in as a prefix enlarge. These are ultimate constituents. And one more example, daydreaming. ing first. This is inflectional for present participle. And finally, day and dream. Okay, it's not too difficult. Okay, you'll have more examples. I think Natasha Milivojevic is going to provide more examples. She is going to send you the tests and questions and tasks. Okay, this is, pay attention to this. This is what you usually get. Not usually, but almost certainly get for the written exam. Words to divide into morphemes. So this is called IC analysis, immediate constituent analysis. Okay. Okay. Do you have any questions about this before we go to irregularities? okay? And then we're going to simply finish morphology, okay? We're not going to start syntax, okay? So let's explain first irregularities in morphology. You know that in English we have something which we may call regular past tense, irregular plural, and so on. Irregular inflectional forms. So regular past tense would be what? Would be work plus ed, which is worked. And it is clear that you have the morpheme work and morpheme ed. However, even if it is irregular, like in sang, we can analyze it as two morphemes, like sing plus ed. Two morphemes, but this ed realized in an irregular way, okay? So think about it. If you use the word sang, it means sing plus past. That's why we can say, okay, it still has two morphemes, but ed realized in an irregular way. The same goes with the following examples, okay? Oxen, ox plus s, but s realized in an irregular way, not oxes, but oxen, okay? Less as a comparative, little plus er, but er realized in an irregular way. Sheep as a plural, not as a singular. Sheep plus s, but s is realized as zero plural. We do not pronounce it, sheep, okay? Still two morphemes if it is plural, okay? How do you see that it is plural? You can see it in the context, okay? You see in the context if you're talking about plural, not singular, okay? And finally, the same story with women. It could be woman plus s realized in an irregular way, okay? So think about it. Even though it is, you don't see the deflectional suffix, it is there, okay? It is there, but realized in an irregular way, okay? Any questions about this before we go to the last topic in morphology? Okay, so we can simply explain suffixes homophones. So we have, you know what a suffix is. It's an affix added to the end of the word. Homophones meaning having the same form, same pronunciation, but they have different function, okay? So same form, pronunciation, but different function. Let's check these first, okay? Lighter, painting, touching. Let me ask you first, ER in bold, ER. This lighter could actually mean two things. Which two things? Lighter.
Lighter, which you use cigarette.
Yes, lighter of a cigarette, yes, and
Lighter
as a comparative, lighter, okay, yes, okay. So ER could be ER in lighter, like to light a lighter of a cigarette for a cigarette, or lighter of an adjective comparative, okay. Painting, ing could denote what? Ing could denote present participle, like somebody is painting, but painting could also be what? Could be a noun.
Object.
Yes. Sorry, what did you say? Didn't quite hear it. It could be
A noun as an object. I mean,
as an object. Yeah, exactly. Yes, as an object, like somebody did a painting. Okay, somebody finished the painting. Okay, and the same goes with, similar goes with touching. Touching could be a present participle, like somebody was touching the, I don't know, the door. Or touching as an adjective. Imamo vrlo sličan pridev u srpskom. Touching, how would you translate it if it is an adjective?
dirljiv.
Dirljiv, exactly. So this is, so think about ER, ING again, but they have different function. Okay, so this ER first. Let's start with ER. It is inflectional if it is comparative, like in nicer. So if it is lighter, a comparative of light, then it is inflectional. But if it is derivational, if it denotes agent or worker, like lighter, the device which does something, lighter. Znači, da budem jasan, ako je komparativ, onda inflektivan su, ako je stvorena nova reč, you created a new word like a lighter, the device for cigarettes, it's a derivational. E sad, ovo je važno, znači, zašto je derivacioni? Stvorili smo potpuno novu reč. We created a completely new word. It is inflectional if it is only form of the old word, like light, lighter, okay? The same or similar goes with ing. It is inflectional if it is the present participle. Somebody, for example, is painting. It is derivational if you created a new word. New word is, as somebody said, an object, an item, like a painting. Somebody finished her painting. It's a noun. So ing can function as inflectional suffix for present participle and can function as a derivational suffix as a noun. Okay? I already mentioned this ing here. It is inflectional if it is present participle. If it is derivational if it is created, if you create an adjective, touching as an adjective, a touching sight, for example, then it is derivational because you created an adjective. Okay? And I have just one more thing, which is ly, and then we'll stop for today, okay? So ly could be derivational for adverbs like quick, quickly. So if you add ly to quick, you created a new word, adverb. This is derivational. This could be derivational for adjectives as well. Daily, friendly, daily paper. What part of speech is daily in a daily paper? Daily is an adjective. Znači, još jednom, u izrazu daily paper, daily is an adjective. You can use daily as an adverb. Do you have an example when daily is an adverb?
I read 2 pages of this book daily.
Daily, exactly. This is an adverb, yes. Znači, daily without a noun following. Yes, this is an adverb. But if you say daily paper, then it is an adjective. This is what I mean derivation, okay? Friendly, ly added to friend. If you use it in the phrase like a friendly smile, friendly in that case is an adjective, a friendly smile. And in that case, ly is derivational, okay? So quickly, derivational for adjectives or derivational to create new adjectives, adverbs or adjectives. I have an example here, a daily paper, a friendly smile, to remind you, okay? All right? And that's all. I'm not going to start syntax today. We have perhaps 6-7 minutes, okay? So let me ask you if there are any questions about this second part or some other questions before we finish. We have for about, let's say, 5 minutes before we finish, if you have any questions. Ako nešto nije bilo jasno, vi pitajte. Irregularities in morphology, suffixes, homophones, and so on. Sljedeći put nastavljamo sa sintaksom. Okay? U stvari, možda to da kažem, sljedeći ponedjeljak je test, jer tako to znate. Možda da pomenem, znači imate u istom terminu, sedjet ćete podeljeni po grupama kao što obično i sedite 107-108 učionica i tada jednostavno ćete dobiti test u isto vreme. Obe grupe, to je važno, obe grupe u 14 sati. Znači ne prvo jedna pa druga. Tako. Da čujem, da li imate sad vi neke...
Imam ja pitanje. Profesor, što se tiče one podele afrikati, frikativi, to je, ima neka tabela, pošto ja nisam baš videla ili...
Dobro. Ja samo da proverim, znači to je materijal koji ste dobili od Nataše Milivojevića, tako, ili aplikati, nisam siguran na što se odnosi, aplikati, aplikativ, svima sam reći na koji deo se to odnosi.
Ne znam, to pitate, vi mene pitate, pa ne znam. Ali znam da je bio zadatak da se poveže, a ne znam, ili ima neka tabela tačno.
Ja sad moram... Ne sjećam se da sam pominjao neke aplikativ, ili tako, aplikativ ili nešto. Applicable, nisam siguran na što se odnosi, možete...
Ne, nego, mislila sam afrikate, ne znam, afrikate i frikativ, to mislim.
Afrikate, izvinjam se, to je phonetics, phonology, yes. Fricatives, yes, exactly. To the pronunciation, yes. Znači, šta u vezi sa njima? Da, nisam dobro čuo, da.
Da, htjela sam da pitam, pošto je bio zadatak jedan tamo u vežbanci da se poveže koje su afrikate, koji su frikativi i tako dalje. Stalo pitam, je li ima neka tabela ili nešto?
Ja mislim Nataša Milivojević poslala, koliko sam ja pratio ono što ona poslala je tabelu za, čini mi se, za, ako hoćete, mogu da pogledam, a mislim da postoji i u ovoj vežbanci jedna tabela, evo mogu da uzmem, neće to dugo trajati. Da, znači, samo sekundu, ako se brzo nađem ovde kod sebe, onda ću je, mogu brzo da vam kažem, ako ne, onda nemam ovde sad kod sebe, to nije važno, znači, tabelu treba da imate, mislim da je Nataša poslala i ono Fromkin Rodman, je li tako, Introduction to Language ili tako dalje, trebalo da me poslala link, koliko sam ja video. Znači, u svim tim imate tabelu, znači, taj zadatak je bio, s jedne strane imate foneme, s druge strane imate, da li su, nešto treba onim kosim crtama da ih povežete, da. Znači, mi smo pominjali samo neke, ne sve, a vi ćete imati, znači, zadatak da povežete te koje ste čuli na času i ono što vam je još eventualno Nataša rekla. Ja mislim da mi je ona poslala tabelu, ako ne, možete pogledati u toj workbook, mislim da tu isto postoji jedna tabela sa svim tim konsonantima gde spadaju.
Dobro, imam još jedno samo pitanje. Što se tiče onoga minimal pairs, je li tu bitan samo izgovor? Znači, može različito da se piše reč, ali je bitno, jeli, da su, tipa, ne znam, keep i reap. Ako je reap R-E-A-P, a keep je 2-E. To je isto minimal pair.
Jeste, znači važno je samo da se razlikuju po jednoj fonemi bez obzira kako se pišu. Znači, važno je, mislim da ste imali reap, je li tako, i keep, nešto. Jeste, znači i jedno i drugo su dugo i p na kraju, razlikuju se samo po prvom, jeste. Znači, može da se piše drugačije, da, važno je. Da, dugo i u oba slučaja, da.
Profesore, ja imam jedno pitanje koje je slično što se tiče te tabele. Ja sam tu tabelu u workbook pronašla i imamo inače i opisano profesorka Nataša što je slala, međutim u workbook, to je ono što mene buni, u workbook je malo specifičnije i postoji jedna grupa koja se zove palato-alveolarni. A kod profesorka Nataša ih nije na taj način klasifikovala. Ona je odvojila grupe palatali i alveolarni, znači bez te prijelazne grupe. E sad, na koju mi tabelu onda više, odnosno na koju podelu na više da se oslonimo i ako bismo dobili da odredimo taj neki glas, tu neku fonemu, da li da budemo onda specifičniji ili da idemo na ovu grublju podelu?
Na ovu grublju podelu, znači sve ćete to detaljnije raditi na fonetici i fonologije sledeće godine, ovo je znači samo da vas uvede, znači ne ono iz workbook, nego ono što vam je Nataša poslala, drugim rečima ono što ste rekli grublju podelu, da, na grublju podelu.
Dobro.
To je za ovaj kurs bitno, da, grublju podelu.
Važi, to je u redu, a što se tiče vowels, to sam isto vidjela u workbook da imamo ono podelu kao front, central, back. Mi smo naveli samo nekoliko primjera, a mislim da to kod profesorke Nataše isto nemamo. Međutim, ovo ovdje što je nacrtano u workbook je onako, nije baš svuda precizno u kojoj su grupi, imamo dosta prelaza.
Da.
Pa nisam sigurna da li tu postoji neki eksplicitan izvor gdje bismo vidjeli tačno kako se koji klasifikuje.
Da, ovako, trebalo bi, ja koliko sam pratio, ono što je Nataša postavljala me je Fromkin i Rodman, jel tako, celu čini mi se knjigu. Pogledajte tamo, znači to su engleske foneme, znači tamo bi trebalo da bude sasvim jasno, znači ja ću to nju još reći kad budemo sastavili test, da ne bude pitanja koja su dvosmislena, koje vam mogu da vam budu zbunjujuće. Znači ono što smo manje više obradili, znači pogledajte tu Fromkin i Rodman, taj izvor, to je svakako najpouzdanije, da.
Dobro, važi, hvala vam.
Ništa, nema na čemu. Da li ima još nešto?
Imam ja jedno pitanje.
Slušam, da.
Da li učimo do gramatičkih kategorija ili učimo i gramatičke kategorije za test?
Znači, do naslova grammatical category, što bi značilo gramatičke kategorije ne. One spadaju u pismeni, za drugi deo gramatike.
Važi, hvala.
Tako, dobro, ništa. Doviđenje, ne znam da sad imate književni ili kurs ili ne, nekako nam je vreme isteklo, ako nema više pitanja, ja bih se onda isključio. Ništa, ja vas onda